Thespio was dead, to begin with.
Huh? Cruelica? Are you watching your murder mysteries again? Also, what are you doing in my home?
Old Thespio was dead as a doornail. Odd phrase as that may be, it's hard to say precisely what's so dead about a doornail. For instance, one might regard a coffin nail as the deadest piece of ironmongery in the trade.
Oh, I must have left the computer on. Also, if we're talking about things that are deader than a doornail, I would say any Apple product that's more than 3 years old. Silver-Quill. Huh? Silver-Quill. Meh. Silver-Quill.
Oh, for crying out loud. Wake up, you lethargic lark!
Huh. I've had shade thrown at me before, but this is novel.
Ask me who I was.
I'm gonna go with Philip.
No.
Terrence.
You realize this sort of joke was never funny, right?
I want to say Leroy?
Oh my god, why do you do this on purpose? Thespio! In life, I was Thespio! How can you not remember me?
Pretty easily, it seems.
Now do you believe in me?
I believe you just committed assault. Wait, why am I dressed like this? Where's my bedroom? This looks like a... Oh. Oh, a deer.
Ponykind was my business. The common welfare was my business. Charity, mercy, forbearance, and benevolence were all my business. The dealings of my trade were but a drop of water in the comprehensive ocean of my business.
It should be noted that Thespio and his darling wife spent 4 months on the picket line for the Actors Union demanding fair pay.
Damn right I did. I mean, the protections from AI that we won are questionable at best, but, you know, time and place. Anyway, I am here tonight to warn you that you have yet a chance and hope of escaping my fate. A chance and hope of my procuring Silver-Quill.
Okay.
Tonight, you will be haunted by 3 spirits. Expect the first...
When the bell tolls 1, yeah, I know. I'm familiar with this shindig, and I gotta say, the casting here is all wrong.
You know what? I am just going to float here for about 30 seconds and let you have the floor, because clearly there is something that is bothering you, and correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like there's something you want to share with the class. Would that be correct, you pestiferous poo-techie-techie?
Well, like the creepy disembodied voice said,
Hey.
you've been fighting the good fight for actors deserving better pay, which is terrific. I, on the other hoof, have not gotten rich off YouTube, and I'm not as big a tool as Scrooge was.
That last part's debatable, but go on.
I doubt even Charles Dickens himself could predict how his novella of generosity and goodwill, written in a mere 6 weeks, would become a staple of the Christmas season and fiction in general. There have been an endless array of adaptations, either trying to remain faithful to the story or add some kind of spin. I've seen animated specials that gave Scrooge a dog. I've seen specials hosted by the humbug himself.
B-A-H humbug, to be more precise.
I've seen alternate takes, like Marley meeting Scrooge again in A Vision of Hell, where Scrooge's chain is so massive he can't go wandering the world as originally foretold.
Bah! humbug. Merry Christmas.
I've seen some of my favorite actors take on the role.
What's Christmas time to you but a time for paying bills without money? A time for finding yourself a year older and not an hour richer.
Though I am happy to say I avoided the adaptation that tried to make Scrooge's past and present even darker, and implies that he may not have been saved by the end. Because while sometimes we might miss the point, going against the original story renders any adaptation useless. You tell me I'm going to watch A Christmas Carol, then I am certainly not in the mood to see it undermined.
Okay, I guess I can see your point, but I don't know. I personally prefer an adaptation that did something different rather than repeat the same formula beat for beat. May I recommend to you Spirited with Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell?
But we haven't even covered the multitude of Christmas Carol adaptations we've seen in our favorite TV shows. It seems like every show, live action and animated, has taken its own swing at the idea. Of course, they've done so using their own characters for the various roles. Oddly enough, it was South Park that erred on the side of adaptation in their episode Pip, an adaptation of Great Expectations that only featured one character from the show, while everyone else was completely faithful to the book.
But this is one of the prisons that we're in doing South Park is a lot of times we want to do just different like this, like, oh, that'd be really cool to do that, but you kind of have to figure out a way to do it with the characters you've established or people don't like it as much.
Now let's see here. TVTropes.com. We had the $6 Million Man take a whack at it. Mr. Belvedere.
Walk this way.
Xena, Warrior Princess.
Wait, really?
Am I to understand that you are...
Lachesis, second of the Fates, here to show you your present.
Let us not forget that Bravestar threw a lasso at the idea.
Whose grave is it, shaman?
We shall see.
Animaniacs had perhaps the most risque take on the deal.
Handsome, yes, it's true. Let me know when those costumes get heavy. Wow!
And of course our dear ponies threw their horseshoes into the ring. But there's more to A Christmas Carol than some revelatory hauntings. There's an aspect to the Dickens classic that I feel is often missed in adaptations.
Oh, speaking of missing things, I think you're about to miss your meeting with the first spirit. I guess I better mosey on out of here and... what the crap is that?
Buckle up, sunshine.
I don't wanna.
Okay, he's a big one, but we're gonna catch him back, Cracky. Yeehaw, ride him, spirit. Come on now.
Why does this always happen when I appear in your videos?
I don't know. Typecasting?
Yeah, that checks.
And thus Silver-Quill deposited his visiting companion on the dresser table, which really brought the room together.
Huh. Yeah, I kinda do, don't I? Hashtag feng swag, I guess?
Anywho, Scrooge is both an individual in need of redemption and a reflection of a society in need of reorientation. It's hard to recontextualize this latter part, because with time comes a sense that we're so far beyond the problems of the past. But I say to you, we are not, and I can trace it all back to one famous phrase.
If they'd rather die,
they'd better do it.
And decrease the surplus.
The surplus
population.
Have you ever wondered where this phrase comes from? Well, it's a struggle that became encapsulated by one man's fear. In this corner, born in 1766 and passing in 1834, an English economist, cleric, and scholar, Thomas Malthus. Malthus encapsulated a growing fear in his work, An Essay on the Principle of Population. Malthus believed in two principles. First, that food is necessary to the existence of man. Secondly, that the passion between the sexes is necessary and will remain nearly in its present state. The problem, as he saw it, was that these two laws are not equalized. The power of population is infinitely greater than the power in the earth to produce subsistence for man. Population, when unchecked, increases in a geometric ratio. Subsistence increases only in an arithmetical ratio. This led to his fear that population would outpace food production. And as many people will not rise above poverty and hunger, there will be a terrible loss of life due to starvation. And in this other corner, we have reality, which has so far proven his fears false. The Industrial Revolution increased our ability to produce crops and harvest food. And while poverty and starvation are very real problems in the world, these are not caused by excess population, rather overconsumption in some parts of the world and lack of support to others. But that didn't stop Malthusian economics from taking root in the public discourse and leading to the eventual term surplus population. One example being the 1927 Supreme Court case Buck v. Bell, in which they upheld the state of Virginia's right to sterilize feeble-minded people, leading to 70,000 Americans having the ability to reproduce taken away. A huge win for the American eugenics movement. Dickens hated Malthusian economics and did all he could to rail against them in his works. Oliver Twist and A Christmas Carol being some of his most powerful salvos. I think this effort to combat the worst ideas of humanity is why A Christmas Carol is so enduring. There are still people trying to decide who is worthy of life, recognition, and respect based on a very narrow and selfish criteria. To combat this, there must always be a calling for respect, mercy, and support, and acceptance of our fellow human beings in all their various forms. So I must ask, given this very powerful struggle within A Christmas Carol, how the heck are ponies supposed to tackle this? Equestria is a very egalitarian society. While there is tension between social classes in terms of superiority complexes, there's no cry for eugenics. There's very little by way of poverty, and starvation is all but unknown. The closest we've had to truly destructive philosophies is the pony's attitude towards outside cultures, which Twilight and Friends combat. What I'm saying is that My Little Pony can't tackle the same ideas as Dickens intended, and to their credit, they don't try to. We begin our tale with the ponies getting ready to celebrate Hearth's warming. And I can't play any of the music from this because I have my own breed of humbug, the YouTube copyright system.
Ready to celebrate your first Hearth-warming Eve here in Ponyville?
But Starlight is not feeling the vibe.
I think to most ponies, it's just an excuse for silly songs and fun, not a day to remember some old story.
Now I'm of two minds on this. One says that an individual has the right to engage or not engage in an event, and we should respect that so long as it's genuine and not imposed circumstances. The other mind is that we need to have the courage to step outside our comfort zones and try new things. Taking part in community traditions is important to build bonds with one's neighbors, a difficult prospect in this digital age. So I consider Twilight and Spike to be overzealous. But they mean well, and Starlight could use a little extra perspective. Hence the reading of A Hearthwarming Tale. Here we see the relationship of one Snowfall Frost and her assistant, Snowdash.
But by all means, if you want to go home early, ignore all of the work you have and spend the rest.
Rather than try to match Scrooge's disdain for the impoverished and his resistance to affection, Snowfall's flaw is too zealous a devotion to an ideal.
Work hard, learn, and use your skills to better Equestria.
But much like those eugenic loons who try to draft laws, she hasn't given a lot of thought to what this really means. Thus, she too is operating off a narrow and ultimately selfish perspective. And through another song, villain songs being some of the best, she sets up to magically erase the day from the world's consciousness. Of course, this gains the attention of the spirits without the need for a condemned soul.
Well, ain't she lucky?
And instead we jump right to the first spirit.
Silver spoke before the hour bell sounded, which it now did with a deep, dull, hollow, melancholy one. In an instant, light flashed upon the room.
Ah! What the hey?
It was a strange figure, like a hairball, yet not so like a clog as like an animal, viewed through some pop culture medium which gave him the appearance of having receded from the view and being diminished to a cameo's proportions.
Oh, I get it. A little Karibo. That's clever. And annoying.
Care to fill the rest of us in?
This is supposed to be about my past, yeah? Well, I got into My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic in part because of word of mouth. Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged, Red vs. Blue, and a retrospective by Chad Rocco of then ThatGuyWithTheGlasses.com got me interested. At the time, I was working at an office redacting personal information from police reports, and got to read a great many depressing stories. So I started watching a kids show as primetime didn't do much to boost the spirit. Time passed and I've since left that job, but I kept on watching, and then one day I saw a particular piece of fan art. One last parade by Harwick's art tugged on the emotions harder than I expected, and I realized that I cared a great deal more about these characters than I realized. That was what prompted me to try my hand at making comics. But it didn't start my YouTube videos until after Season 3.
Good lord, everything's on fire.
La 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 la, do the la la, la 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 la.
Exactly. This is a flame war, one that lasted at least 9 months between the end of Season 3 and the debut of Alicorn Twilight, and the start of Season 4. I still look to the show for positivity and the fandom for creativity, so seeing all this conflict over the change was a bummer. And since nobody was saying the things I wanted to say, I resolved to make a video sharing my thoughts. And from there, things pretty much snowballed without a plan. Oh yeah, I met a ton of people through those videos, many of whom I would collaborate with, and failed to keep pace with the show as a consequence. It was rather prophetic to call this after the fact, but I'm happy to say I still got to connect with wonderfully kind and creative people by going to conventions and keeping in touch on the net. No, I still don't have a genuine plan. I've been flying by the seat of my non-existent pants for over a decade. And get this, I used to think that I could assemble a basic library of poses and that would be enough. If it isn't obvious, life didn't work that way. Now, Snowfall, she had a much different problem. A Snape-inspired teacher named Flintheart, but not of the Glomgold variety. A teacher who basically set the stage for her to fall into the more militant view of improvement, researching progress without any concern for the spirit. And I wish we could have seen Flintheart's fate, for he is akin to Scrooge's father. Though we never see this less-than-stellar papa in most adaptations, we do learn one important fact from Scrooge's sister.
Father's changed. He's so much kinder than he used to be.
Part of Dickens' mastery of words was using descriptors that convey negativity, but also carry the promise of improvement. Hard and sharp as flint, from which no steel had ever struck out generous fire. Secret and self-contained, as solitary as an oyster. As terrible as this sounds, flint can be used to create a warming fire to help with survival, and an oyster may yet produce a pearl. By that same hopeful notion, we learn that Scrooge's father, a man so hardened he wouldn't even have his son come home for the holiday, became kinder and eventually had his son return home full-time. Even the teacher bidding Scrooge farewell surprised him with a display of celebration and respect. What would this story be like if we had gotten to witness Flintheart's fate as a contrast or preview for Snowfall's future? However, I will also quote Carl Jung in this matter. I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. Snowfall is still responsible for her own choices and actions, just like Scrooge. This is not a case of simply transferring the blame, but recognizing that how we choose to treat others has a consequence.
Though our protagonist may have lost himself atop the soapbox of his mind, destiny, it seems, had not forgotten the hour. And behold, we see that in times of fight, flight, or fright, brave people are known by stoic surrender or display of earned physical prowess to resolutely manifest their moral stature.
Yahtzee!
And then there's Silver-Quill.
Who and or what are you?
Come closer and know me better, Griff.
Are you coming on to me?
Never, and furthermore disgrossing.
Hearth!
I am the ghost of Christmas present. Look upon me.
Hello, police. I'd like to report a flasher.
Would you stop assuming the worst about home intruders? Hey, Rumpf. By the way, have you seen Thespio? He was due home a while ago.
Jasper! Run for your life! He's alone! Attack!
So we're already on the present? I remember Scrooge getting a lot more views of his past.
You want to keep scripting that out for the next week?
Present tense it is.
Take hold of my robe, and through the power of the holiday, we shall go out into the city! Here we are in the United States, the top viewing locale for all your videos.
Well, I should hope so. I mean, I live there.
Yes, but do you live in the United Kingdom?
Uh-oh. I must tread carefully. I once accidentally insinuated that Wales was part of England, and paid dearly for that error.
Aha. Well, are you prepared to journey to the distant, the mystic, the third greatest source of your viewership, Canada? Home of some of the greatest voice actors in all the world? Ever?
Oh, crud.
What?
I just remembered I sent my passport in for renewal. I'm here illegally.
Keep! Cheese it! It's the Mounties! And pause. Now we're here in Norway.
Norway?
They're number 36 on your viewership with 10 whole views.
Wow. 10 whole views. Are they the lowest?
And now, welcome to Jersey. They've given you exactly 0 views this year. Zip, nada, zilch, ninguno. And furthermore, they did... I said Jersey! Jersey! The island of Jersey! Not the New Jersey Turnpike! Oh.
So, this is a summary of my reach. I don't get to actually see the people who've been watching my videos. Kind of enjoy that. It's one of the many boons of going to conventions.
We're already illegally crossing borders. Let's not add home invasion to the list. Despite my own home invading earlier. Anyways, let us go forth and see how our fellow YouTuber celebrates this fine day. We shall start with the Scorchers.
Oh, how nice. They got my gifts.
You gifted firearms to infants. Why are you like this?
Laser firearms. Per 1980 standards, it's okay so long as there are no bullets. Incoming.
Maybe we'll check in another household. VoIP!
Wait a minute. Isn't this usually when Scrooge gets to witness Tiny Tim? Who's playing that role?
Down here.
Tiny Bloom.
Hey now, there are no small roles, only small actors. I'm basically a hobbit for this video.
Wait, what's up with the pogo stick?
Just because I'm shorter doesn't mean I can't look you both in the eye. Anyway, Celestia bless us, every pony.
She's not in charge anymore.
Ah, right. Twilight bless us, every pony.
Kind of funny that there's a Tiny Tim in the pony version as well, but only for a little bit. The spirit of heartwarming presence has things on an accelerated track.
Sometimes a cupcake means I love you, or a toy means hi, how you doing? And sometimes a book means your mane looks amazing.
And a gift card can mean anything between I trust you to use this wisely and who are you again?
You know you're doing your Pinkie Pie voice, right? I was not.
I do find it adorable that we're basically seeing Twilight's imagination and she's not envisioning the horrible death of a friend this time. Instead, she's casting her friends as the characters. Though I can see this backfiring in the worst possible way. Now imagine your brother and sister-in-law. Now choosing Pinkie as the spirit of the present, or rather presence, is an interesting choice. Like the original story, she takes Snowfall on a journey to see the spirit of the holiday exemplified in action. But like many an adaptation, it doesn't go far enough. Dickens' original work showed Scrooge miners in distant towns and men stationed at a lighthouse or on a ship. The spirit blessed those not just at parties, but anyone who had a kind word to share, even if speaking below their breath. The focus is on both the actions of kindness and awareness of the day, but it's understandable that the focus goes to both the Cratchit household, which forces wealthy readers to see their fellow citizens as something other than lazy or selfish, and a visit to Scrooge's nephew for a personal rebuttal of Scrooge's philosophy. It's that ultimate public service. Gossip about why someone's wrong.
I don't suppose that pony's name starts with snow and ends with frost.
And she acts like a bee with a heck of an itch.
It looks like we've got everything on Snowfall's list right here. I think a perfect equestria looks a lot like a heartwarming Eve party.
And it's having an impact on Snowfall, just like it did Scrooge.
Indeed. For to witness kindness and celebration is to feel a calling to join or try to match the act of one in some way. I pity the foolish soul who witnesses kindness but only sees weakness.
Looking a little long in the tooth there, bucko.
My life upon this globe is very brief, as is my budget for Stallion's main die. But tell me, old buzzard, have you learned something from me this evening?
I've learned that you can't qualify as a proper Ghost of Christmas present.
Oi!
And in fairness, neither does Pinkie Pie.
Just because it's true doesn't mean it's not hurtful. Meh.
The Ghost of Christmas present is my favorite of the trio, for he is the most direct in denouncing both individuals and establishments. He's equal parts celebration and condemnation. I especially love it when he throws that surplus population back in Scrooge's face.
But what of it? If he be like to die, he'd better do it and decrease the population.
Man, if you be a man in your heart, forbear that wicked cant until you've discovered what the surplus really is and where it is.
It may well be that in the sight of heaven you are more worthless and less fit to live than millions like this poor man's child.
Oh God, to hear the insect on the leaf pronouncing there is too much life among his hungry brothers in the dust.
And he's not pulling punches when it comes to hypocrisy.
There are some upon this earth of yours who claim to know me and my brothers, and do their deeds of ill will and selfishness in our name.
If anything, the celebration the spirit displays has a certain sting to his criticisms. Now, can you see Pinkie offering that level of criticism? There's nothing she can denounce in Equestria, so we only get the celebratory side. Which is joyful to watch, so I'm not too sour. And I'm sorry, Jasper, but I can't see you criticizing and denouncing anyone either. I just want to hug you.
Not while I have the FBI on speed dial, you don't!
And that's where I come in. Silver, how much time did you give yourself to get this show put together?
A week?
But not just any week. What week was it?
The week before Christmas?
Uh-huh. And how many conventions did you attend this year?
5.
5, and you caught COVID at one of them.
I got better.
Mm-hmm. And you were also doing those weekday puns and Pinkie Pie Says Goodnight comics and IDW comic reviews, both of which take place on the same day for, what, 60 episodes?
At the time of this scripting, 69. And counting.
Nice. So at least 70 Goodnight comics, plus your videos, plus your live streams, plus the MBS show. Do you understand what I'm trying to say here?
That you like counting?
You are spread so thin that you can't even see your own accomplishments anymore. You're active in several parts of the fandom that don't necessarily overlap, so while you end up working towards one goal, 3 others go unfulfilled, and you begin to lose any sense of accomplishment. You say you don't have a plan, and so you go with everything to the point where I'm amazed you still have a sense of self. You have to pull back on something before it kills you.
So you're saying that I should stop sleeping?
No, you need to either back off several projects or find a way to consolidate them. If you keep spreading yourself thin, you're likely to lose your presence entirely. Look, it's already happening.
Oh, geez. Spirit, you want to help me out with this?
Alright, that's me. I see a vacant YouTube channel in poor condition and continuity going unrecognized. If these shadows remain unaltered by the future, the creativity will die.
The bell struck 12. The spirit's time in this video was at an end.
Well, see you in your nightmare, folks.
Is he doing what I think he's doing?
Doing a Jim Carrey adaptation? Yep. Most needlessly creepy adaptation yet.
And so unnecessary.
Silver looked about him for the spirit and Tiny Bloom, but he was alone, faded from their company. As the last stroke ceased to echo, he remembered the prediction of old Thespio. He lifted his eyes and beheld a solemn phantom, draped and hooded, coming like a mist along the ground towards him. He felt that it was tall and stately when it slid beside him, and that its mysterious presence filled him with a solemn dread. He could alas deduce no more, for the spirit neither spoke nor moved.
Hey! Smooth out your steps!
Then stop poking my ear.
I'm not! You're making me stumble!
Hey, I'm the walking part here.
And I'm the brains of this operation.
Are not.
Am too!
Right. Like I said, it talked a bunch and moved around a lot. Good luck with that.
Wow. Thanks. Okay, am I in the presence of the ghost of YouTube's yet to come?
Oh yeah.
Blissey, we're supposed to be silent and mysterious.
Oh, right. Yes.
Good recovery.
Copyright claim!
Wow! What was that for?
This, dear birdie, is the future of YouTube. Creators living in fear of the copyright claims, demonetization, and the death of fair use. The struggle to be creative without being crushed under legal scrutiny is exhaustive, and few have survived the purge.
So everyone's creatively dead? I didn't mean literally dead.
This is no graveyard for the flesh, but a resting place of ideas. If your path remains unaltered, you will forever be slave to the algorithm, trying to keep up with the trends and falling forever behind. And look! Whoa!
I told you to keep yourself centered.
Balance me out here!
Wow, that's sobering. Just as much as finding out you're dead and no one misses you, or that you've just killed the whole world.
Wendigos? They aren't real. It's just a little Philly story.
They are all too real, Snowfall.
Oddly, this is the first chance I've had to talk about the Wendigos and the controversy they stir. Its genuine namesake, the Wendigo, is a horrific figure in Algonquin-speaking tribes. They hunt humans and are completely unimpeded by snow or ice. By comparison, the Wendigos are pretty tame. A criticism is that MLP took a figure from legend and twisted it to fit the show without any respect for the culture that birthed it, or that the differences are so great that it's such a disservice to the original legend and becomes an insult. Since I don't belong to any of these tribes, I can't speak on their behalf, but I've seen a lot of mythical creatures used in entertainment, especially in something mythic like the Secret Saturdays, or meeting Egyptian gods in G.I. Joe. So while this might not be a new practice, it is something worth considering. For my 2 cents, if you're going to take a figure from a culture and use it in a story, then that culture itself deserves some time in the spotlight. If that's not an option, then at least change the name to something different. Winter Woes as an example. But the deed is done and the Wendigos are woven into Friendship is Magic's tapestry. So all I can do is keep going forward and hope that this doesn't become an issue again. Whatever the case, the spirit of hearthwarming that will never come sings a song about how much Snowfall screwed up. And since she's played by my favorite princess, I shall supply a song of my own.
Oh no!
Here she comes, awesome Lord Luna. She's so cool, making me swoona. All you hail, I'll hail the Luna. If you fail, I'll bring the Dooma. Here she is, awesome Lord Luna. She's so cool, making us swoona. We all hail Luna. Yeah.
This is not going at all as I expected.
Well, I thought it was kind of catchy.
Of course, the final spirit is the most mysterious and foreboding, which is why it rarely enjoys a depiction beyond a cloak or shade.
And certainly no chase scenes.
Right. But perhaps the most sobering thought is that one can have such a negative impact that there's no genuine sense of loss with their passing. Only some trepidation about Bob Cratchit's future and a question of inheritance. I find it interesting that Dickens never showed the perspective from Fred, Scrooge's nephew. He's mentioned by Cratchit as a hopeful source for the future, but we never see Fred directly, possibly because he's the only person who might mourn Scrooge as a personal loss. The big question here is whether or not a person has the freedom to determine their future and change their path. In both A Christmas Carol and this adaptation, the answer is yes, and both make good on their change. So too does Starlight Glimmer, who accepts the book's message and takes part in the celebration. One might scoff that hearing a story could cause such a total opinion reversal, but consider that we've been using stories to convey ideas throughout history. A story has the power to make people think and question and review their own lives. It's not a new phenomena. I do appreciate that Twilight doesn't assume Starlight has changed her mind. She just leaves it open.
Spike and I are heading downstairs, and if you wanted to, you'd be welcome to join us.
Perhaps with a note of passive aggression, but far better than what most would assume. I have to say that I'm impressed by what the crew behind Friendship is Magic did here. It's not able to capture a whole lot of the social commentary of A Christmas Carol because of the setting, but it really doesn't have to. We have a multitude of adaptations that can serve that role. What we get is a fun, whimsical story that drives home the importance of community and shared celebration, plus a slew of great songs.
And the fake bedpost was his own, the fake bed was his own, the staged room was his own, and best, happiest, and most substantively of all, the time laid before his tenure on this miserable mortal coil, in which he could yet make amends, was, yes indeed, his very own.
Yes, this production's message is not lost on me either. I need to do an audit of my lifestyle, cut back on what drains me and refocus my energy towards what I enjoy most. The message is not lost, though I do wonder who put this shindig together.
It was I, Ginger Quill. Your life is but a stage upon which I write my will. Your colleagues are but puppets to my script, extensions of my story arcs, and are...
You know, there's a line from the 1951 movie version of A Christmas Carol that comes to mind.
We spirits of Christmas do not live only one day of our year. We live the whole 365.
And that's the general idea of holidays. They're not meant to live in isolation, but rather reinforce ideals that we try to embody the whole year through. Charity, mercy, kindness, and celebration are all things that we can embody even without a holiday on the calendar. So no matter what time of year you watch this, I think it bears repeating.
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year!
So, who wants to go watch Die Hard?
Oh, yeah, I could go
That's
for
a great
that.
movie. I do like it when Bruce goes like, "Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker!"
I guess Alan Rickman's pretty cool
the scenes
in
where
Die
he's
Hard,
like,
so I guess I
all
gotta
the
give you
glass
that.
on the
And also that guy from...
I like
from
this
from-
movie. It's
from
totally a
Family
good
Matters.
Christmas
He was
movie.
also really cool. I like the sarcastic quip, and I'm just ad-libbing at this point. Yay, movies!
That's not really a Christmas movie.
Oh. It takes place at Christmas. Therefore, it is a Christmas movie.
Well then, by that logic, wouldn't that make Jaws the Revenge a Christmas movie?
Well, touche.
But that said, I want in on the Die Hard too.
Hey guys? Hello? I'm still trapped in here! My wife will be very upset if I'm not home soon! Guys? Guys! Well, better get to bouncing. 1, 2, 3. There goes my back! Charlie horse! Charlie horse! Go Charlie horses!
Thanks to all my Patreon supporters who help keep After the Fact a self-sufficient series. And thanks to Anthony C., Thespio, Jasper Pie, Sweetie Blue, Lightning Bliss, and Dusty Cat for all their talent and hard work. And thank you, people of the internet, for these wonderful fan art drawings. I'm Silver-Quill, Thanks for watching.